Hi, and welcome to the Long Range Shooting and Custom Rifle Building podcast presented by Wolf Precision Incorporated, where we learn about and share long range shooting and custom rifle building. I am your host, Jamie Dotson, and welcome to the show. Hi, and welcome to episode 73 of Wolf Precision's Long Range Shooting and Custom Rifle Building podcast. I'm your host, Jamie Dotson, and welcome to the show. In this episode, we are going to tackle the problem with the ammo shortage, at least something that we can do on our ends as shooters to try to correct the problem and to let you in on a little bit of the inside as to what's going on. We are also going to discuss the new building we just signed for. We will have our new location in Somerset open on May 1st, and we're excited to announce we will have our long-range shooting school being held at our new facility this year, so we're really excited about that as well. So without further ado, lots to talk about. Here we go. All right, before we get into the show, we do want to thank our sponsors, Krieger Barrels. Krieger is a maker of fine cut rifled barrels and have been doing it as long as most of the barrel makers in the industry. And they are world-renowned, world record holders, great shooters, and great product. They also have KriegerDirect.com, in which you can go on and find most of your common contours, calibers, and twist rates with barrels that are actually readily available. So you can order and have your barrel in as little as 2 to 3 days. And they also have a sales section where they have a different selection of different barrels that come on as the years go on. So you can go on and search around and see something maybe unique, different twists, different contours, maybe a custom barrel. So you've got lots of things to look for. We're going to talk about shortages, but barrels are not one of them. I know if you custom order a Krieger barrel right now, their lead times are around 6 months, but you can go over to their direct or buy now, and they have barrels readily available. So stop over to Krieger Barrels or KriegerDirect.com today and select yours. We'd also like to thank TriggerTech. TriggerTech is a proud sponsor of the podcast. I always say if you're going to put a trigger in your rifle, put the best in that you can, and we really do believe that is TriggerTech. They now offer single-stage and two-stage triggers right from the standard trigger, which we call the primary, and that is a fantastic trigger for hunting rifles, for just multiple uses, right up to their top-of-the-line, competition-ready diamond trigger. So stop over to TriggerTech.com. That is TriggerTech.com today, and get yours ordered. All right, so on to the ammo shortage and primer shortage, and I do want to discuss some ways that we can sort of help correct course a little bit. We do have control over some of these things, and in this podcast, I'm going to share with you some things that I think we should really consider as consumers, and maybe share this podcast with as many people as you can, and if we can get enough people on board, maybe we can start to turn this ship around so we can actually get some reloading components out there. So here's some of the problems that's going on, and I actually spoke with Chris Hodgkins of Hodgkins Powders last week. It was a pleasure to talk to him. I haven't talked to him in a while. He sits on their board of directors. He no longer works inside the company, but really a great guy. 10 years ago, he helped us out with the shooting school with powders and really just trying to, explain to me everything that's going on. And so I really appreciated him taking the time. But there are some problems in the industry. Of course, we all know that we have more new gun owners than we've ever had. We also have a lot of new reloaders coming online. And, a lot of people panic bought a lot of different firearms from AR-15s to rimfires to revolvers to first-time gun owners that were, involved in trying to have something in their home. And all of these we certainly wholeheartedly support. I don't shame anybody for having whatever weapon they choose to protect their lives, their families' lives, and the people around them. So that part I feel is really important, and just excited to see the growth in the industry. It has created some issues for us that shoot a lot and for reloaders. For example, when I spoke with Chris, he said in 2020 they produced and sold more powder than ever before in the history of the company. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that there's just so many new reloaders. And then, when you compound that with the fact that this pandemic thing has caused a lot of bottlenecks in the industry itself from different factories being shut down or, limited workers or just little things that cause glitches to either slow down or cause, the next person waiting for the components to complete the process to not get them on time, starting to create a ripple effect across our industry. But that's not the only thing that's happening here. I also want to point out that there are slugs in our industry, I like to refer to them as, and I'm not going to hold any punches back on these people. I really don't care for them. I think what they're doing is rotten, and I think they should get the hell out of our industry, and I think we need to take control of it back as profiteers. And this was actually brought up from Chris as well. He said, it's not just the new gun owners, and it's not just, the big rush on, people trying to buy components and products. But then as soon as this starts, then you got the profiteers starting this whole process. And so I thought this would be a great time to talk about this and some things that we can do to stop that and how to sort of get the supply chain back working again for us, the consumers, and explain to you a little bit about where this problem lies. So let me tell you just a really quick story here. We used to teach our classes at Gander Mountain, and we used their conference room. And we had classes that ran Monday through Wednesday, as well as a couple of classes that were Friday through Sunday. So I'm not sure what day of the week it was, but the Gander Mountain was really awesome. They left us come in an hour. I was in 2 hours before the store opened with the manager. I would set my classroom up. An hour before the store opened, I would be allowed to bring my students in that were attending the school, and that way we could get all of our instruction in for the day, eat lunch, and then head off to the range. Coming in at 10 in the morning or at 9 when they normally open just didn't work right for our schedule. And so they were really gracious with us and really kind and helped us. So I remember a friend of mine emailing me, hey, I have a 22 suppressed long rifle. I love to shoot it. And he said, hey, if you need 22 long rifle ammo, I found some. And I'm like, okay. I didn't understand, this is probably 10 years ago, that there was a big shortage for 22 long rifle ammo. So this whole thing that's going on now happened before, and he was letting me know that he had found some. And I was like, well, I don't really need any, but thanks for asking. And when I went back and I called him later that evening, I'm like, oh, I didn't know that there was a big shortage. He goes, oh my gosh. He said, you go to these gun shows and they're charging 3, 4, 5 times the price, $100 for a brick of 22 that they're buying for $17. I'm like, wow, that's amazing. Like, who would have thought? And so it wasn't very long after that, though. I was letting students in an hour before the store opened, and I walked out to get my students, and there's a line of people. And, to say that they're not the working class, to say that they were kind, drinking cups of coffee and having pleasant conversations, well, that certainly wasn't happening. They were in line, and you could tell that there was a little bit of tension amongst all of them. And I was like, oh, what's going on here? So I opened up the door to let my students in, and this guy pushed his way into the store. And I said to him, I'm like, hey, you can't be in here. And the guy proceeded to cuss me out, that we were getting into the store early and that it was bullshit. And, just went on this tangent. And I was like, for the second time, I told him, I'm like, look, you need to leave the store now or you're going to be arrested. I don't work for the store. I'm not the manager here. I am authorized to let these 8 people in because we've got a shooting school. But you can't be in the store. You need to leave now. And the guy proceeded to get huffy again, and with a little persuasion decided that it was probably in his best interest to wait outside the door. Well, at lunch break, we get something to eat, and I went out to talk to the manager, and I said, hey, I had a run-in with a guy at the door. And he goes, oh, you have no idea. And I was like, what don't I have an idea about? He said, these guys, they know what day our trucks arrive, what stores, and so they just distribute all of their buddies to all the stores waiting for the trucks to be first in line. And he said that's what they're here for. He said they're here to pick up as much of the ammo as they can to take it to the gun shows on the weekends, to double, triple, quadruple their money, whatever. And I was like, you're kidding me. He goes, no. And just while I'm talking to the manager, this is the honest to God's truth, a guy walks up and starts cussing him out. And like just literally just laying into him, like, because he wasn't allowed to buy any more than 2 bricks of 22. And the guy was just, and it'd be one thing if the guy was buying 2 bricks for his daughter to go out and plink, or for the kids to go out and shoot cans, or for the local shooting school club, 4-H taking kids out. No, this guy was adamant to purchase this product, not because he was interested in the product, but it was in his pocket, right? He was interested in doing this. So he belittled the manager in front of me. The manager was like, that's the rules, that's the rules, that's the rules. And you can see in the background, there are several people waiting to see if the rules were going to change. And so we'd had a conversation later that week off to the side, and I really got my eyes opened as to how this whole back system works and what these people do. And they're profiteers. They're hurting our industry, right? I went on Gunbroker this morning. There are 7,700 items listed under primers, 324 pages. And for a newsflash, I went out and bought primers at our local distributor 5 weeks ago. They had primers in. They allowed us each to buy 1,000 primers of large and small rifle. It was awesome. When I went there to pick up my primers, by the way, the line was already starting. And here they were. And so I am going to tell you that part of the problem is we as shooters have to pay attention to who we're buying this stuff from. If we want to get control back, or at least get some things back to some normalcy and quickly, stop buying this stuff at gun shows. Stop buying powder from Gunbroker, from some slug who went out and bought it at the regular retail price and is now asking $1,000. I think this is really important. The reason I'm telling you this is because what happens when somebody gives in and buys that? That person goes back in line and takes somebody else's powder. That could have been mine. That could have been my neighbors. That could have been some of the guys that work at a shooting school. Poor Walt. Walt is one of our instructors here. He has 3 pounds of 4350 left. And I told him, look, we don't have any extra, but I will help you out. I really do think this will sort of come to a head sometime around summer, and you'll start to see supplies hopefully come back to normal. But there's a compounding problem here, is that there's a ton of people that have nothing better to do than to try to rip us off. They're not interested in buying this product to help their buddy. It'd be different like if one of our instructors called CAC and ordered 1,000. I just happened to be there picking mine up, and CAC was like, hey, do you want Mark's? And I'm like, oh, yeah, I'll take his and pay for his. And I took it, and I'm going to give those primers to Mark, right? But I'm not selling them to Mark for 5 times the price. I didn't buy them to retail them to Mark. I'm not trying to hurt another shooter. They're going to someone who had asked. But the problem is every time you buy from these people, they go out and get back in line. Now, here's the solution, at least to help control the profiteering part of it. If you really want things to come back to normal as quick as they possibly can, as you stick every single one of those greedy bastards with all the stuff that they went out and bought and make them set on it till next year to sell it at half of what they paid for it. That's exactly what you do. So you help your buddy out with 500 primers to get him through the shooting season. You help your neighbor out with a pound of Vargets so he can go out and shoot woodchucks. You do anything you can do. You get in line, to get the stuff. Stay on top of it. Stay on all the major distributors. Watch for it to come in and grab it when you can get it. They're limiting it now. But the problem isn't that you or your neighbor is buying an 8-pound keg or 2 8-pound kegs. The problem is this guy and 300 of his cohorts, as soon as they find out that this product is available, all going on and buying it all up in an effort to consolidate everything that they purchased and to retail it back to you at a higher price. Don't think it happens? Think again. So the manager's name at Gander Mountain was Bruce, and here's what Bruce had to say. He said, these guys are a well-oiled machine. They not only know what day the trucks show up, what time the trucks show up, what time to be in line to get the first crack at it, and if they hear in the bushes that they always have their buddies, their neighbors, these guys that are working together as a team, as soon as they find out a delivery's been made, let's just say, for example, at CAC Associates, one of our local distributors, they already know which other distributors have probably got that same truck. And so they instantly deploy everybody that they can to get there, to get it as quick as they can before you even know it's there. And then they take it to a gun show. And now, I love some of the gun shows, like Great American Outdoor Show, awesome, right? SHOT Show, fantastic. Everybody should go see it once if they can. Hopefully the NRA annual meeting will be in Houston this year. Awesome show. But the local gun shows, or like, for example, I went to the Pittsburgh gun show, and you see it. These guys aren't in our industry. They're not shooters. They're not varminters. They are like cranky people who are there working a circuit of shows. I'm not kidding you. Working a circuit of shows with their vans stuffed full of everything that they can get in there and profiteering off of our backs. And so they're shortcutting us. They are getting in line, and then they're turning around and trying to just stick money in their pocket because they're part of the problem. Profiteers. So they know when to get in line. They know who to contact. So like Bruce was telling me at Gander Mountain, he said they deploy all over every day that, like, say, for example, if the truck gets there on Thursdays, they know that which Gander Mountains get delivered on Thursday. They have people standing in line. And so when the pickup trucks were showing up, or the vans or whatever they were in, or cars, there's 4 or 5 people in there. And their goal was, because now there's a limit of 2 or 4 bricks each, is to buy as much each as they can. They go, one person takes it to the show, and they all split the profits. Or they have their wives, their kids, their neighbors, their buddies, or anybody they can to go and get in line. And they give them a portion of the proceeds. So if you want part of this madness to stop buying on GunBroker at these ridiculous prices, because the only thing you're doing as soon as that person moves that product is they're going and getting back in line, and they're even more motivated to get to the product before you do. Stop buying at the gun shows. I mean, you can go on YouTube and look at gun show pricing, and, guys are offended. Like, oh my God, look at these prices. Well, you need to look at that person too. Look at the person behind the counter. There are probably 30 or 40 people in that person's network getting in line before you to get that, to sell it to you. And it even goes further than that. You have people in industries now that are hurting to get product just to sell. So retail, they're only allowed to sell it for retail. For example, like when I went and bought my primers, they didn't charge me an extra $20 or $50. They charged me retail, right? And so these stores are getting sort of pissed off at this. Like, well, here's these people buying this at $30, and then they're going to a GunBroker and selling it for $300. Well, it doesn't take them long to put 2 and 2 together to say, well, we're going to have, Sally and Joe come in and pick up 5 cases ordered. It's going to go out the back door at retail, and they're going to go to the gun shows and sell for 10 times the price, because that's what's happening. And so they're not stupid. They're going to go out, and you're going to have people doing this now because of the market that it made. And they are making and prolonging and exaggerating this market. I practically begged Walt not to buy primers and powder on GunBroker at the ridiculous prices. I'm like, look, I don't have a ton extra to spare. I'll barely get through the shooting school this year. I am hoping that powder will become available. Chris at Hodgins said, just keep an eye out. We're making it. It's coming. You have to be quick because of all these other people who are in line not to buy it for their needs, but to buy it to keep the market where it's at as quick as they can. 30, 40, 50 of their look, now they don't even have to stand in line at Gander Mountain in the cold for an hour. All they have to do is be by their computer or their cell phone and send out their text message to everybody that's in that group that primers are in at CAC. Bang. Instantly, you've got 65 people calling in and placing their orders. Do you see how that works? And then they're taking it to the gun shows, and they're taking it and putting it on GunBroker, and they're basically creating and prolonging this problem. And so if we stick them with what they have and say we're not paying that price, and like the AR-15 craze, look at all the people who just went out and bought up everything they could find to run to the gun shows to sell for 3 times the value. So a $500 AR-15 was selling for $3,000. I remember those days. Well, I also remember a lot of those people coming back to the local gun shop, and the local gun shop was telling me that, these guys were walking in and like practically bawling because, they had 30 of them and they could only get $250 retail for them. Well, good for you. Good for you. I hope it stings. So you stop doing that stupid shit. Right? So, the guy was profiteering and buying up everything he could, hoping to turn a quick buck. And don't get me wrong, entrepreneurial and working hard and making a honest dollar, I'm okay with that. Profiteering and hurting your fellow shooters, not okay with that. And I don't even say fellow shooters. Look, these people aren't shooters. I was at a gun show, last story I'll share with the gun show, then we'll move on to some good stuff. I was at a gun show in Pittsburgh with my daughter, who was about, maybe 9 or 10 at the time. And, we did a lot of the smaller gun shows. We were custom rifle builders from our area. So we like to advertise and talk to customers. But, tables and booths behind me, all these guns had to be checked and they would have to be wire tied open. Well, a vendor behind me, who I will guarantee it knew little to nothing about firearms, although they talk like they do, right? A guy handed him a pistol across the counter because they're allowed to buy and sell back and forth, right? And the slide was down. There's no wire tie on it. He's holding it sideways, looking at it on the side and pointing it right at us. So I politely told the guy, I'm like, hey, dude, what are you doing? point that shit somewhere else. And by the way, that doesn't have a wire tie on it. What are you walking around a show here with that for? Go get that wire tied. I don't know you. So go. And so this is a true story now. An hour later, my daughter goes, Dad, I look over, the guy's pointing another pistol at us, sideways. And so let's just say the conversation that we had was very clear as to what was going to happen if that happened again during the show. So this is the people that are there. Not all of them. There are people that we enjoy meeting that are, they are legitimate store owners and retailers. They are builders. They are for example, there was a company that makes soft rifle cases. They sew them themselves and they travel shows and they're selling them. Nothing wrong with that. They're making an honest dollar, right? They're making a product and that's their show. That's what they do. But these profiteers, I got no heart for them at all. None. And so I practically was like begging Walt, please, if you buy it for $1,000, what does that tell the guy? Oh God, now I got to go get 5 of these because now I can sell 5 of them for $5,000, right? And it exaggerates the problem. It's going to prolong the problem and it's going to make the situation a lot worse. So here's what I would like you to do if you can. Share the podcast if you would like. I'll take the grief. Somebody wants to call and give me a hard time about me, giving the guys at these gun shows a hard time. I'll take it. I don't care. You're not selling at a fair price. You're profiteering and you're hurting our industry, and you're stopping the neighbor down the street from taking his daughter out with a .22 long rifle to shoot cans or targets just to have some fun for a weekend. Instead, he can't spend that $80 or $100 for that brick of 22s that you're asking for. That, by the way, that you paid $14 for, and can't go out and enjoy a nice weekend with his daughter. Shame on you. So don't. Please, help your buddy out if he's in trouble. Like if he needs primers, if you have a couple extra to spare, help him out. I'm sure they'll return the favor. Likewise, if you need powder, talk to other shooters, in your circle and say, hey, look, here's what I've got. If you need any extra, I have some. I can't give it all away because now you've got the hoarding going on, which is, part of the problem as well. As people now are like, well, dude, I got to buy like a year and a half's worth of supplies because I'm not going to go through this again. Well, that will come. When I talked to Chris, he said, 2 years ago, they had more powder in inventory that they ever had. People weren't buying it. All the vendors were full. All the retailers were full. It wasn't moving. And so you give it a year or two, it'll come back around. And when that comes back around, then I would be buying, like for us here, we try to stay a year out. But, our plan is now is once things settle back down to normal is we'll try to get enough to get through 2 years. And that way, if this rolls around again, at least we're all right, and we can help our customers and our buddies out. So these outrageous people that are profiteering off of all the online forums, stop buying it. Stop going to gun shows and paying these ridiculous prices. Stick them with the product, and then when they can't sell it and you're able to, especially here's the thing, when they can't sell it, when they don't sell it, then they have no reason to go stand in line at the local distributor to buy primers or to activate their ADT member to go online and buy all the powder that instantly went for sale at Hodgkin's before you even find out that it was some for sale. If they have it in their possession and it's not selling, they don't get back in line. That's important. Stop buying it. They won't be in line in front of you anymore. And eventually they'll be selling it for market price and eventually less than market price because they don't shoot. What the hell do they need 50,000 .22 long rifle rounds for? What do they need 60 pounds of H-4350? They probably don't even reload. So now next year at the gun show, you'll see this going for $15 a pound rather than the $80 and $90 a pound they're trying to make for it now. Last word on this, and then I'll get off this tangent because this is affecting all of us. If you buy this stuff on a forum, gunpowder or primers, if you buy this on Gunbroker, you have to be hazmat certified to ship it. And guess what they are not doing? By the way, you get in trouble too. It's not just them. They're like, oh, well, you can ship UPS. I've been doing it for a year. No, you can't. Actually, you can't. We had a customer in Texas that needed H-4350, couldn't get it locally. I bought it at the local distributor at retail price. And this was last year when powder is readily available. For whatever reason, his local store didn't have it. And I said, hey, we have it here, so I'll just buy 10 pounds, and I'll have them ship it to you. So I paid for it, and they shipped it hazmat. You have to be hazmat certified to ship powder and primers. And I'll guarantee it 90% of the people that are selling this stuff aren't shipping it that way. And if somebody gets hurt, if they get found out and you are the receiver, you're in trouble too. They have to ship it hazmat. They have to ship it through a certified hazmat shipper. So CAC Associates, they are certified hazmat. They have to have that certification to ship this stuff. These people don't. And so A, they shouldn't be allowed to ship it. B, if you buy it and they ship it to you, you're both in trouble, right? If that UPS van gets into an accident and they come back and they say there was powder and your name was on it and it caused an accident or it hurt somebody, guess who's getting in huge trouble? That's right. Not just the seller, you the receiver. So maybe that's another thing to say, hey, stay away from this stuff. Let it go. Help your buddy out until things normalize, but let these people set on the product that they have. Do not buy it. So set on what you have, help your buddy out, and then wait for the market to come back. It's coming. I talked to Chris at Hodgkins Powder. It's coming. There's powder being made. It's being shipped and delivered. And it'll be in your area. Keep a watch out. But as long as we can get rid of these vultures who have their 80 and 100 person network, that all you have to do now is send out a group text, powders at Hodgkins for sale, Varget in stock. It's gone. 2 pounds, or they allow 2 8-pound kegs apiece. Well, 80 people just bought 168-pound kegs in a matter of minutes. So what's that do to us, the shooters, right? Doesn't help us. And so I try to buy some that I will use. I'll try to buy some if I know Walt needs it. If I can get an extra pound or two, I'll buy him some and I'll sell it to him at what I paid for it, right? I'm not selling it. I'm not retailing it. I'm not trying to hoard it. And I think that's the right approach. But you want to help the situation get better, stop buying from these people. It will definitely get things back to normal a lot faster. And eventually put a lot more product on the market that they bought that they don't use, that they just have it because they're trying to profit off of you. So that's my last word on that. All right, so we are really excited to announce that we have a new facility. We just signed our lease. We will be in May 1st. We will be in Somerset, Pennsylvania. We're excited. You know, we're not taking this for granted. This is a big step for us. But we'll have our very own classroom there, and we'll have a nice showroom for customers to come in and see all the parts and pieces that we work and do with, check out all the different actions that we build on, spend some time talking to us, check out everything that we do. Love to have you. Get some coffee, tell some stories. That's always a great time. So we're really excited about it. Our opening is going to be May 1st. So we would like to thank another sponsor for the podcast. We always like to thank MDT. MDT is a proud sponsor, and they offer a full line of chassis. One of the chassis I would like just to bring some attention to in this podcast is the Oryx chassis. MDT makes the Oryx chassis, and we think it's one of the best sub $400 chassis on the market today. Our experience with it here is we've built everything from match guns to elk guns on this chassis with carbon fiber barrels, and they shoot great. They're machined a little less in the forearm, so they're a little bit thicker in the aluminum, which I think is where the win is at. And from the tip of the forearm to the very back at the buttstock, solid aluminum. There's no breaks. There's not multiple pieces bolted together. It's all made out of one solid piece with skins on it. And I will tell you, as far as chassis, the Oryx chassis is one to look at. If you got a new shooter, young shooter, it does have an adjustable length of pull and cheek piece. If you're just upgrading your current rifle to something that's a little bit more adjustable, a great chassis choice. So if you're going to, take the time, go to their website. It's mdttac.com. That's mdttac.com. They do have a full line of chassis that go everything from the ACC, which is their flagship, the whole way down to the Oryx. But don't misjudge the Oryx on this price point. I really think, and we have them here. We have customers that shoot them, that they are one of the really hidden gems inside their product line that is a great entry-level chassis at any price. So mdttac.com. Stop over and see them today. So to wrap up the podcast here, we are getting into February, getting anxious to get out and do some shooting. We did, by the way, post up some pictures on our Facebook page of the 22 Creedmoor, some performance shots. We had Walt here last fall doing some load work, shot some rounds out to 700 yards, shot an incredible group. And he wasn't even trying. It was sort of funny. He was just working on dope. So he just loaded up some rounds in the magazine, bang, 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 went down. It was an 1.5-inch group at 700 yards. We took a picture of it. I posted that up online. I also took the time to post up, remember I was saying at 350 yards how it was dimpling our AR 500 plates which is really impressive for a boat tail hollow point. In other words, they weren't full metal jackets. They weren't solids. These were just regular ELD matches and Berger VLDs. They weren't solids or armor piercing or anything like that. And they were dimpling the plates at 350 yards. So I did take the time to post up a picture of the plates at 350 yards and the dimples that it created on AR 500 steel, which was really impressive. So we did a podcast on the 22 Creedmoor. We've got lots of calls on it, and I will say it's one of my favorite calibers. We are going through a process now of creating 22 Creedmoor brass out of 6.5, and maybe we'll try to share with that when we get into the new facility on some video works. So I'd like to take the time to thank everybody for joining us here at the podcast. Please feel free to share this podcast. I think it's really important for people to know that there's an industry behind the scenes that's working against us, and they have our worst intentions in mind. They're really profiteering and simply just fishing to get money out of our wallets. So share this podcast if you can, not for any other reason other than to help stop what's happening and get it back to some normalcy as quickly as we possibly can, right? But if you don't mind and you enjoy the podcast, please like us. Please post something nice on iTunes. Give us a 5-star rating. All of that on whatever platform that you're listening to really helps us get recognized in the industry as far as people finding us. And that's been going great. I think we're in the top 50 now in some countries. And so that's really, really fantastic. We've been doing it for about 2.5 years, just trying to share great information and pass along good stuff to the customers and consumers and listeners out there. So I hope you enjoy it. But if you do enjoy it and you've liked what you've heard so far, if you don't mind giving us a thumbs up or giving us a little review, we would really, really appreciate that. So thank you so much for taking the time to join us here. My name is Jamie Dotson. I'm your host, and you are listening to the Long Range Shooting and Custom Rifle Building Podcast.